Hello guys, very welcome back. In this video, we'll be learning about the challenges in the border management. We'll see both the problem with the Pakistan-India border and the problem with Indo-China border. Let's start. Now, if you see the Indo-Pakistan border, there are four types of the boundary line. The first is the international border, working boundary, line of control, and finally we have AGPL. Okay. Now, international boundary is the border between the two countries which are permanently settled and clearly drawn. There is no dispute. The borders are the Gujarat state, the Rajasthan state, and the Punjab state, has the international border. Now, if we see what are the challenges these particular border lines are facing, the first, Gujarat, there is lots of arms smuggling along the Sir Creek and the nearby areas. In the Rajasthan border, there is human trafficking. Lots of ISI agents enter via the Rajasthan border. As far as Punjab is concerned, human trafficking again, plus lots of drug abuse and drug trafficking along the Punjab border. Right now, in the contingency, whenever it's seen, there is firing. Actually, this firing is low intensity military conflict and is also known as eyeball to eyeball confrontation. The next is the working boundary. Actually, the working boundary is an in boundary, that is Delhi and Haryana has a working boundary. Okay, so actually it's the boundary between the two states of same country. Now, since let me clarify, WB is not the term used by India, it's the term used in Pakistan. Okay, so if we see a working boundary, the line of control has a long history. Okay, we need to see what is the history, but let me tell about line of control. It divides Jammu and Kashmir into two parts and it's a temporary arrangement, it's disputed. Okay, now a working boundary is in the Jammu sector. Okay, as far as the line of control is concerned, it's the point where the working boundary ends and the point where and the mountain of NJ9842. Okay, now let's see the history of the line of control, why it's called line of control after all. Okay, by the way, working boundary, the term used by Pakistan is working boundary. It's so because Pakistan considers Kashmir to be part of the it, and hence it considers it to be state, but not India. India we call it IB, that is international boundary. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the why are the boundaries called line of control. Okay, and what are its challenges? Let's see why it's called line of control. The Raja Hari Singh was not able to decide which state to go. Pakistan army, disguised under the tribesmen, the Pathans, and they attacked the Jammu Kashmir. September 1947, they managed to reach to outskirts of Srinagar, killing and butchering the Kashmiri. Raja Hari Singh signed instrument of accession and Indian army was dispatched, and Indian army realized that it's actually the Pakistani army who was disguised under the tribes, right? War was declared, and in 1948, under the international pressure, Indo-Pak war ended, and India was able to recover part of Kashmir, but Pakistan was not able to capture whole of the Kashmir. Right, in 1948, Karachi agreement was signed, where India and Pak agreed that there is dispute in Kashmir, but nature of dispute, India said that Jammu Kashmir is legally an Indian part. Pakistan said that Jammu Kashmir was acceded to India forcibly. Okay, negotiations started. India, Pak both said that the best way is to maintain the status quo. Right, And a ceasefire line was created so that, and it was said that this CFL, that is ceasefire lines, once dispute is solved, we'll remove the CFL. Okay, by nature, if we see, a CFL is a demilitarized line. Okay, it's a line so prepared or made so as to create conditions for peace. So it is a CCP, it is a conducive condition for peace is created. That's why CFL line is made. Now Pak deployed the army, right, violating the CFL's features, right. India had to also deploy in retaliation. Now it's the first line which converted from CFL to militarized ceasefire line. Nowhere in the world a militarized CFL is found. Okay, so after the Pak's loss in 1971, Shimla Agreement was signed in 1971, and both the countries, they said that this militarized ceasefire line has to be renamed as Line of Control, LOC. Okay. In 2001, there was parliament attack. In 2001, the cross-border firing was there at LOC, right? After the cross-border firing, India-Pak ceasefire agreement was signed. 19 points agreement was signed, where the ceasefire where nobody will fire at the border. That was agreed upon, right? So that's the history of line of control, how the ceasefire line converted to militarized ceasefire line, which in 1972 Shimla Agreement converted to line of control, right? And eventually 2003 came the Indo-Pak ceasefire agreement, right? Now, if we see what are the challenges in both, Pakistan uses a strategy that the Indian military stationed here, if somehow the strength is reduced by firing at the working boundary and diverting their strength to working boundary and hence infiltrating at the LOC, this strategy was used by Pakistan. But by 2005, Indian military started the denial strategy, where more army was stationed at WB, right? Counter retaliatory firing orders were given at WB, and no reduction in army deployment at LOC. 2005, Pak was very frustrated because no more the infiltrators could infiltrate at the LOC. Frustrated, Pak designed the idea of making the Muslims in India, extremist. With extremist ideology, they created Indian Mujahideen. So these things are linked in, right? Now, finally, we have the AGPL, which is actual ground position line. It's roughly 100 kilometers of line from NJ 9842 to Indira Call. Now, if we see what are the challenges at AGPL, it's more of the environmental challenges, because the winters is like minus 100 degrees Celsius and the summers is like minus 50 degrees Celsius. Every day there is a casualty, and the casualty is not because of firing. The casualty is because of the extreme weather condition, because of this and militarized. This is the highest militarized battle zone in the world. So these are the challenges at the Pakistan border. Now let's see what are the challenges at the Chinese border. 4,078 kilometer long border, and it is the longest pending border dispute in the world. It is divided into three parts: the western sector with Kashmir, Ladakh, Himachal Pradesh's Rohtang Pass roughly, and the central is the rest of Himachal Pradesh plus Uttarakhand. Then there is Nepal, and the eastern sector comprises of Sikkim and the Arunachal Pradesh. Now ITBP is deployed in the western sector facing PLA. Central sector we have SFF, that is Special Frontier Force, again facing PLA, and in eastern sector we have Army plus Assam Rifles facing the same army. Now if we see the central sector is disputed, okay, but it's tranquilized, that is, it's not very problematic. But if we see the nature of western sector and the eastern sector, it's completely poles apart. The western sector is known as zone of incursion because the borders zone of incursion, the reason is because the borders are not clearly demarcated. This is the reason why principle of approximation is used when PLA or ITBP patrol, and many a times this approximation goes wrong according to one another country, and there is incursions. The incursions either by ITBP or PLA, which leads to the other party protesting. There is immediate retreat, de-escalation. The second is both the parties are patrolling at the same time and become face off. Both of them are telling that to back off. Now at this point there is this is known as face off, and this the immediately leads to flag meeting, right, retreat and de-escalation, right? So that's what is a western's sector nature, that is zone of incursion. If we see eastern sector, it's zone of cartographic aggression. Both the Chinese map and the Indian map, they both show like the Chinese map shows Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh part of China. India shows India counters, right, counter cartographic aggression. So it's also known as cyclical cartographic aggression, because whole year this map war continues, right? So the solution is delineating and marking the line, right, through a trilateral consensus. Okay, so that was all about the Indo-China border. Let's summarize. The Pakistan-India border, we have 4 types of borders: the international boundary border, the working boundary, the line of control, and the actual ground position line, where the challenges are different, and how the Indian Army is tackling those challenges is also different at every border. Similarly, the Chinese border is divided between western, central, and the eastern sector. Again, the challenges at the western sector is completely different from the eastern sector, while the central sector is more tranquilized. It's peaceful. So that's all. Thank you.